Retiring successfully is all about eliminating as many of the unknown roadblocks that will occur as you possibly can. And if you've watched prior videos of mine, you know I'm speaking to people in the retirement risk zone, which is the 10 years prior to retirement or even the first 5 years in retirement. And really the objective of good retirement planning is to create contingency plans so that you have plans in advance for the unforeseen circumstances that cause problems. Today we're going to talk about a specific problem, which is timing your actual retirement age. This comes from an article that was put out recently that's titled, "Think You'll Work Past 70? Good Luck. Why Most of Us Retire Earlier." And the issue that is highlighted in this article is that most of us think we'll retire at a certain age, and yet most of us end up retiring significantly earlier due to unforeseen or unplanned circumstances. Now, there's a couple things I want to talk about in this video. One of those is I will read some text direct from the article so you can get an inside look into how wide the disparity is between people's reported desired retirement age versus the age at which they actually retire. And then I'm going to show an actual financial plan that shows the impact of if someone is forced to retire early due to unforeseen circumstances. And then we want to talk a little bit about the element that is unspoken here, which is if you haven't started planning for retirement and then are also forced to retire early, what magnitude of impact does that have? So let's start with just a little bit of information here, which is the first thing is most people will report that they will want to retire at an older age when in fact they retire significantly younger. Straight from the text in this article, the average American retires not at 80 or 70 or even 65, but at 62. That statistic comes from 2 annual surveys of working and retired Americans, one from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, also known as the EBRI, and the other from the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies. So first off, we generally think we're going to retire later, but we retire much earlier. Now there's an element here which we'll talk about towards the end of this video, which is a lot of us think we're going to retire right up until we claim Social Security. But if most of us are actually retiring at 62, which is much earlier, that would be early claiming of Social Security, not yet at full retirement age. What problems does that present? Now, straight from the Retirement Confidence Survey, which was put out by the EBRI, this text continues. As in prior years, there is a gap between when active workers expect to retire and when retirees say they actually did. Workers continue to report an expected median retirement age of 65, while retirees report that they actually retired at a median age of 62. So obviously some people retire later, obviously some people retire earlier. However, what's most important here is workers are notably more likely to say they expect to retire at ages 70 or older. So 1 in 3, 33% of workers expect to retire at 70 or beyond that or never. Actually, in actuality, only 6% of retirees report this was the case. So there's a 27% disparity there, which is quite large. Now, just 11% of workers say they plan to retire before 60, but in actuality, 33% of retirees report that they retired that early. Again, another almost 22% disparity there. 20% of workers say they plan to retire between 60 and 64. Actually, 35% report that they retired in that range. And you can see here at all phases of retirement planning, people's expectations of when they will retire versus when they actually retire are off by a significant margin. Now, the important thing to take away here is in the retirement risk zone, the most important thing to do is start retirement planning as early as possible so that you have contingency plans in place to account for this. Now, how do we understand and quantify the impact of retiring younger than we desire? So this is different than the conversation about electively retiring early. Electively retiring early is, I've done a great job financial planning, I have a ton of assets saved up, I understand all the decisions that will come ahead of me, and I choose to retire at age 55 or age 62 or age 65, whatever retiring early feels like for you, but it's done by choice. When in actuality, most of us will actually retire early, not electively, and therefore there is an implication there that it will have some kind of sudden, jarring, or shocking effect. So what is the actual result? Well, I'm showing on the screen here a screenshot of a successful financial plan. The hypothetical couple here initially planned to retire at 66, and when they run their financial plan, they see a Monte Carlo score of 88% when they retire at 66. If they were to suddenly be forced to retire at 62, their Monte Carlo score drops 16 percentage points from 88 to 72. And this is a result of several things. Now, one is obviously they're going to have more years that they have to drain their portfolio assets if they choose not to claim Social Security at at 62, but even if they did, they'd have a lower Social Security base and therefore have a higher drain overall on their portfolio assets. The other element here is that obviously if you work longer, you have more years of saving and you can contribute more to retirement accounts or non-retirement investment accounts, and that goes away. And then there's also an element of your retirement is longer. If you get forced to retire earlier, it doesn't necessarily have any correlation to whether you'll have a shorter lifespan. So you might still live till the same end of life, but all of a sudden now you have a longer or extended retirement. The idea of sharing this concept is it's never too early to start retirement planning. You want to start as early as you can, especially if you're in the retirement risk zone, because all that occurs is if you don't do that, and you already know the stats here, you should take away from this video that it is highly likely that whatever age you desire to retire at, you will retire at a slightly different age. That's not because it's in my control. It's not because it's in your control. It's not because I want it or you want it. The statistics just tell us that if you roll the dice and all your plans are aligned on the fact that you will retire at exactly the age you desire to, you're going to potentially have a serious problem. So hopefully you found this illustrative and thought-provoking. As always, retirement planning is individual and completely unique to your person and your own characteristics, your own life, where you live, and what you've done up to the day you start retirement planning. However, the broad general advice here is start planning as early as possible. So if you'd like access to either of the reports, the EBRI report or the Transamerica report, both will be linked in the description to this video below. If you have comments or questions or thoughts about any of what we've talked about in this video, please put them in the comments section below. We recently released a 6-part free financial planning video series that teaches you exactly how to use our in-house financial planning process, which we call Navigating the Retirement Risk Zone. It's a 6-part video series. It's about 80 minutes of total video that gives models and instructions and shows you step-by-step how to understand the financial planning or retirement process for people navigating the retirement risk zone the way we think of it. And it includes access to our free financial planning tool, as well as a bunch of models. You can get access to that by filling in any of the forms on our website or clicking the link in the description under this YouTube video that says, click here for the free 6-part video series. That video series is not for the faint of heart, but it's going to provide hopefully tons and tons of actionable information. So we hope you'll take advantage of that. Thank you as always for your time and attention. If you'd like to schedule a consultation with our fee-only fiduciary financial planning team, you can also do that via our website at www.thepeakfp.com. Thanks for your time and attention. See you in the next video.